Wrestling is Real podcast because wrestling needs us. Brought to you by KingofAmazon.com. Go to KingofAmazon.com when you do your shopping for Amazon to help the King of Podcasts. Shop for Amazon at KingofAmazon.com.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to episode 523 of the Wrestling is Real podcast. King of Podcasts here with you, bunkered down in the man cave for day 8 of quarantine of the coronavirus confinement here in my studios, and I've done a lot of content as of late. Let me go ahead and tell you real quick that, of course, got your podcast buddy right here doing the wrestling show. I actually did a video version of what I'll be doing in the last 15 minutes of the program tonight, where I'll be talking about the Dark Side of the Ring video. It's going to be the two-part Vice series where they did the whole story of Chris and Nancy Benoit. I talk about that. I'm going to tail that at the end of the show, but I put it up as a YouTube video initially after I watched the second part last night. But I'm going to go ahead and add that into tonight's program for all of you to go ahead and check out for yourselves. So I'll have that for you coming up a little later on. And tonight we're going to talk about WrestleMania 36, which I am talking about is charting a challenging course around the coronavirus. So a lot of things going on with that and the way they're kind of having to work around the schedule. Look, I'm not looking to go and get spoilers. I'm not worried so much about, again, I've been grading on a curve. The way that wrestling's been, listen, they did make some adjustments this week. Is the programming any better? But you know what? In this time of coronavirus and the pandemic, I think it's still better that we have this because, look, as I said over the last 2 weeks, there is no other sports to watch. There has been nothing. I mean, when you think about it, at this time right now, the NBA would be tailing themselves up, getting ready for the playoffs. March Madness would be ongoing right now. You would have Major League Baseball wrapping up spring training, getting ready for opening day. The National Hockey League, you'd have Stanley Cup playoffs almost ready to start up. You'd have Olympic trials going on. I mean, I couldn't even else what else there is to imagine. But you'd have pro, collegiate, all different types of sports. And sports consume so much television, so much content online. And it's done. There's nothing right now. When I look at everything that's going on, I actually have to talk about that here on the show, about the lack of sports programming there is out there and why it's so important for wrestling fans to appreciate what we have, because we have nothing else. Nothing. We are stuck right now with wrestling as being the closest thing we have to sports right now at all. Do you understand? Fox, ESPN are reliant upon WWE programming right now because there's nothing else. You know, what are they going to do? Run sumo, bowling, poker? Like, there's not much for them to work off of. Now, they've done other programming in the past, but right now, you're supposed to be relying on actual full coverage. The NBA League Pass, Major League Baseball's package. I mean, think about it. The money being lost right now in sports, and for WWE, for Vince McMahon being the crotchety son of a bitch he is, you know, seriously, that old man is stubborn as fuck, and he will not relent. He wants to keep trying. I can't knock him for that. He's at least trying. Is it really good? No, but he's trying. I can't say much to say against that. I mean, there's got to be some respect said there. AEW continues to deliver very well and a lot of different things that they do. And they do it through 2 hours a week. Even the Dark Show's not that bad. But I'll tell you, everybody else in wrestling is a struggle. Like right now, Impact Wrestling still has Vegas tapings to run off of. But what are they going to do when those tapings run out? Ring of Honor, what are they going to do when they run out? I mean, think about it. They're going to have to go to archives next. Unless they're doing something to continue programming together. But like MLW's got no new programming coming up. Ring of Honor's not going to have anything for the time being. They're all stuck in a spot. And like, there you go. No NXT TakeOver Tampa Bay. They're going to go and just run the shows on NXT itself. So you're going to have that and loads of tapings of WWE where they're going to be taping everything all the way up to the Raw after WrestleMania because that's what they have to do. Now, I'm under the impression, that with this pandemic, and I think we can get some normalcy coming back up, I can believe where, maybe in the next 4 weeks, we could probably get ourselves back to a spot, maybe like right after Easter. I think we're going to see a few things starting to come back. Some comforts of our everyday life might start coming back. Maybe be able to go outside without the fear of something going wrong. Like, I feel like maybe in about 4 weeks, in a month, maybe we're going to get there. But at the moment, I'm still confined here to my studios because I know I'm going to basically say, you know what? Eventually, I think maybe by the end of, I'd like to think that by Memorial Day, we're going to be finding ourselves working our way back to some kind of civilization again. The way civilization is supposed to be. We might be back somewhere, back to some kind of common ground, but with major changes. We are in a new normal, my friends. Without going into the whole thing about the pandemic, but we just keep that in mind. We're in a new normal. We're going to all ultimately change certain things about ourselves. The way we feel about going to live events, the way bathrooms are going to be taken care of, are they going to be cleaned up and better? We got to ask yourself those questions. So those are the things you have to consider. We have a whole lot to be thankful for. I am grateful for WWE to continue to be able to do what they're doing with the programming. And for those podcasters that want to continue to shit on the product, I'm not going to hold you back from doing it. Okay? That's fine. You do what you got to do. If you don't like the fact that the product is what it is, and you're going to continue to shit on it like you normally do, hey man, to your heart's content. But man, you have to give benefit of the doubt to this company. It is not the greatest time for anybody right now for them to even give us something that we can complain about. I mean, remember this. All of you that might be watching this program or listening to this program, and you are watching their product as you always do. And by the way, you are getting a chance to shit on WrestleMania for weeks and weeks and weeks. And you know what? What would you do if you didn't have that? What would you do with yourself if you didn't have that? Oh, you're going to just tell me, oh, I'm going to be fine. I can play, Minecraft, or I can play Grand Theft Auto, or I can, watch anime, or I can do something else. Sure. You want to do that? Go right ahead. Okay? You can do that if you want. You're going to just go gaming. You're going to do some other bullshit. Oh, I'm going to go watch Game of Thrones. I'm going to watch that over again. I'm going to watch Marvel movies. Yeah, you can say that. But even this fucking guilty pleasure of yours of WWE, wrestling fans, wrestling podcasters. What would you do with yourself if you didn't have this? Think about it. For me, wrestling is important. I need this to keep me grounded. It would be pretty tough if I knew that all wrestling was gone. You know what I'm saying? If I continue to lose certain distractions that I need to preoccupy myself from sitting in front of the TV like it's 9/11 and watching news coverage, I'm going to do that. Okay? I cannot fathom the idea that I would have nothing else but Netflix and chill. Isolate and chill. No, I'm not doing that. Man, I am doing more podcasting work I've ever done in my life right now. I am booking for my full-time work at Cannabis Radio and WebmasterRadio.fm and the WMR.fm podcast network. I want to phrase that. I'm doing all that work right now. And I'm loading myself up with hours upon hours of programming. On the weekends, I'm going to do my broadcasters podcast. I got about 5 interviews right now. I'm going to go start scheduling away so I can get those ready, prep, ready to go. Keep me busy. I get my workout in the pool. I got my routine around here. Grab my coffee in the morning. Do what I got to do. And I'm just running it, man. I'm running it like a business. I am not stopping. I'm not stopping working. I can't stop doing this. Thank goodness I have this here. I can continue podcasting. I would probably be doing a lot more podcasting if I didn't have wrestling. Think about it. If I didn't have 8 hours of wrestling, or actually, no, obviously I watch more. I got 14, 16 hours of wrestling I watch a week? So, NWA, they're running up reruns because there's nothing else to put out. Their tapings got canceled. Ring of Honor, they have nothing to do with it right now. They're also just running tapings and other stuff. What about MLW. They're going to run out of tapings pretty soon. What else are they going to have next? Then, I mean, other than that, you just know there are two companies that are staying alive right now putting out content. And that is WWE and AEW. And among other sports that are out there, there's nothing else. Be grateful for what we have. And listen, if it makes you feel good that you continue to go ahead and shit, moan, bitch, and complain about the product, God bless you. Good on you. Keep doing it. Okay, JD from NY. Okay, Don Tony Kevin Castle. Okay, Wrestling Soup. Okay, Solid Monster. Okay, Smart Wrestling Fan. okay, Wrestling Observer. Okay, Sunday Night's Main Event. Yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead. I mean, I'm not going to stop you. But for me, I'm going to be glass half full. But then again, I've talked about the product. I've talked about WWE for a long time, where we know it's taking a downward turn. Okay, look, I just talked to Mark Pate, right? My buddy, Mark 811. And you know what? He's working right now, and he's doing split shifts, working a job over in New York City right now, deal with the coronavirus. I talked to him. He's doing well. For all of you checking him. I'll check in with Chuck. He's doing well as well. Xbox One Chuck, right? And then I have Jimmy G. Remember we had him on a few months back. He's doing well. Looks like everything's going okay for all of them. They're all safe and sound. Looks like they're all healthy, Knock on wood. As I hit the drywall on the back of my studio here. My thing is, we have to just realize, everybody sees the downward spiral, just the way that the product is just not doing good. Right now, it's so mediocre at the most part. And, there's not much that's going to be done in terms of creativity. Really, WWE is just basically doing what they have to do to kind of continue the course. They are steadfast in making WrestleMania possible. I mean, no matter what, they're going to chart the course to WrestleMania. They're going to do whatever it takes until they can't do it anymore, until they're told by some local authority, state authority, government authority, stop. But until then, they're going to keep going. They're going to go do whirlwind hours of tapings into the midnight hours and do what they have to do to keep product going. Do we like the fact that they just want to run old matches? I don't mind so much. When they have other matches they could try to put on and they don't want to have that much of a schedule. Look, they're also saving some money doing this. They're also saving on getting talent out there and, not exposing them so much. They're going to dispose them in a lot of different places, but the fact they're going to do multiple locations is actually pretty good. I'm wondering how they're going to pull that off, but good on them for doing it. Now, other than that, you just got to say to yourself, man, like, what do you want them to do? In this situation, you can't expect WWE to do anything more than what they're doing right now. They're basically doing what they have to survive. That's what they're doing right now. Otherwise, I don't know what else to tell you. They're in a rough spot. And this is the best they could do in this situation. Which is what we can say for everybody else. We're doing the best that we can in this situation. Now, I'm not going to complain. First of all, I'm not complaining at all about myself. I'm just saying the fact that, it would be rough. It'd be a little bit rougher if I didn't have wrestling to watch to completely distract me and make me escape from everything else. I don't have the movie theater right now. I don't have the debauchery and all the little things I like to do, when I want to go hang out. I don't have that. I don't mind that. That's okay. That's okay. Right? Food, I'm fine. I got liquor in the house. I'm good for bear. So that's okay. I'm doing okay. I really have nothing to complain about. I'm grateful. Very grateful. Thankful. At this point, I am very thankful for WWE for doing what they're doing. Is it great? Not always. But it's fine. Listen, I will get back on my high horse. Once we're back to normalcy, you know what, SummerSlam season, I'll probably get, when the off season starts up again, I will definitely start getting back on it. When there is definite criticism to be had. Absolutely. And I'm not saying I'm not going to criticize here because I am. But again, I'm grading on a curve. And I'm going to grade on a curve for a while, and that's okay. I mean, it's what we should do. No, that's not going to work for anybody else watching wrestling or those podcasters or new journalists out there. They're going to want to have something to clickbait on, right? They're going to do that. And that's okay. Man, I'm not the kind of person to go salacious or sensational. I appreciated that when it's in the right place, right time. But the truth is, it's not for me. Plus, I think it gets abused right now. Everybody's doing it. It used to be a different story when, 30 years ago, National Enquirer was the game in town, right? What even that long, about 10 years ago, TMZ was the game in town. A little salacious, a little tabloidistic. Yeah. Inside Edition, Current Affair. Yeah. Now, everybody's doing it. It's not fun anymore. And honestly, the other people out there, they don't know what they're doing. They don't even know how to do it right. Okay? They're basically copying what a Current Affair or Inside Edition or Hard Copy or what National Enquirer does. That's what they're doing right now. They're copying what TMZ does. And they're doing such a shit job of it, too. Just saying. We need to be less concerned about... I would personally say, I'm not so concerned about where everybody's just bitching and moaning about things. I'm listening to it. I listen to you guys. I hear you. I hear your cries. I hear your moans. I hear you complaining. I hear you bitching all the time. And that's okay. Go for it. But, man, do you think we're going to get a WrestleMania that's going to be like blow away? No. No. And we've been complaining about WrestleManias for years. Why is this going to be any different? I'm going to be fascinated by what they're going to give us. At this moment, this is what Nitro is. This is what WCW was. What we're getting right now is a train wreck. A very well-managed train wreck, but it's a train wreck. I'm basically going to be amused by what they try to do. What's this Boneyard match going to be? What is the match you're going to put with Cena and Wyatt that's going to look like a horror movie? I want to see what they're going to do. What are they going to come up with? What's the Edge-Orton last man standing match? Listen, they have some matches that are going to be interesting to me. I'm going to be fascinated by them. Yes. So, yeah. I'm interested. I'm curious. They're going to have some decent matches in the card. I don't know what they're going to do really to make anything special. Gronkowski is a non-factor. But for what it's worth, yeah, I don't mind it so much. It's really interesting just to watch TV now these days anyway. When even if you do pass by the news coverage, everybody's on Skype or everybody's doing their shows from their house, right? Conan's doing it from his house. Andy Conan's doing it from his house, right? The View's doing it from their house. Come on. They're all doing certain things where it's just a very different feel. So even when you're watching WWE, yeah, you see the empty arena, but at least they got smart this past week and finally said, you know what? Yes, get the seats out of here, darken the room, focus on the match, and have some other things going on in the background so that it feels like it's just like a normal night of Raw. Yes, do that. Yeah, take us over to Royal Rumble or take us to the, Rollins, Cena, and Lesnar for the world title. Yeah, go ahead. Take us to WrestleMania 30 and Cena and Wyatt. Yeah, listen, why not? Why not? What else are you going to do? Listen, you got to fill time. I don't expect them to go ahead and fill 3 hours or 2 hours of all this different content, especially when they're taping. They're going to go to their library for stuff because they got to do something. And I think people getting a chance to watching all these different pay-per-view matches that are on the network to sample the network out is not a bad thing. And of course, people are going to complain, well, why don't we get the Shawn Michaels Razor Ramon match for the ladder match? Why don't we get that? Why don't we get, Bret Hart, Davey Boy Smith from SummerSlam and Wembley Stadium? I got it. Why don't we get Savage Steamboat? Come on, guys. They're at least taking time to have reasons and kind of have a purpose for the matches they're showing. Cena and Wyatt, there's a reason for it, right? When they showed that on SmackDown last week, yeah, there was a reason for it. I understand. It makes sense. And they were actually able to go and table it in the storyline. Listen, if they were just going to use that as part of the clip and part of a package, that would have been helpful. Right now, you could do some stuff with Edge and Orton, or I don't know, you could do something with Edge and Orton to show some of their past as well. I don't know. You could do, a couple different things. It's better off they do this. It's better off that they go at least take some stuff that they can use to kind of help build up matches, especially with Cena. If you're not going to have him there all the time, yeah, show something. Or show Brock Lesnar in some of his matches. Yeah, go ahead. The use of the Royal Rumble match to show the Drew McIntyre, to show Edge's return, to show Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar and that whole storyline culminate, good. That made sense to me, and I didn't mind it. I didn't mind having that match on the back of my screen. Again, I'm not paying attention to Raw and SmackDown intentively. They're in the background while I'm doing other stuff, but I am watching the show. And there are certain things that I might just stop and say, okay, let's know what's going on here. What is Montez Ford saying? All right, what's Orton saying? Yeah, okay. What's Heyman saying? Got it. So I'm watching, and if you're doing that, that's okay. At least they're giving it a shot, and they might as well go and use their content. They might as well do that for right now to help build. And if they're using the legacy content, it's going to be from a time that, yeah, maybe it was a little bit better. And you're also taking matches that were they put a lot of effort into, right? Matches. I mean, those WrestleMania matches can't be that bad, so you can't knock them for trying that, for at least trying to do something a little bit different. I mean, let's see what they do. If the matches are halfway decent and they're going to do something where they can kind of keep it, interesting, fine. Do that. Now, what everybody's really kind of complaining about is the fact that WrestleMania is trying to do their thing, right? But they're also dealing with the issue that when you're trying to go and put the pay-per-view together, there's a lot of issues where Orlando has put down some recent issues when it comes to the coronavirus because of the issues that are going on. Like, I get that part. So they have changed some changes now that are going to keep people in a tough spot. I get that. So let's talk about that real quick. So as of Thursday, Orange County, which is where Orlando is based, they were given a stay-at-home order starting today, which is when this show is going out. Now, that said, 1.3 million residents are going to be asked to stay at home beginning Thursday night to stamp out the spread of the novel coronavirus. So only people traveling for essential business, including trips to work, grocery store, pharmacy, will be allowed on the streets. Order is in effect for 2 weeks. So residents are allowed to exercise outside, but are discouraged from doing so in groups. So they're trying to make the effort. And this is, of course, when this is done in the Orange County area, that is where the WWE Performance Center is based. So they're trying to do what they got to do to keep things up. And, you got to ask yourself, well, are they going to be able to go and make the show happen? Well, they're taping as much as they can to make sure it does. And it's the case. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about it. So I'm going to take from Blake Ghostwriter, who I haven't mentioned him much on the show as of late. Used to take a lot of stories from him, but listen. He wrote a story today saying that WrestleMania 36 will be the most bizarre pay-per-view ever. Let's read through it. Take some points out of this. So now he says, while most of the sports world has completely shut down its games and events due to the coronavirus pandemic, they're going forward with the only way it knows how. He goes through and tells the story about how it's been relocated and that they're going to be doing it as a 2-day event from the Performance Center plus multiple locations over 2 nights. So they're making the best out of this bad and unfortunate situation. So for the first time ever, WrestleMania will be taped in advance. It'll be taped this Wednesday and Thursday. The Wednesday and Thursday coming up, I believe. Is that what they're saying? Make sure I write that up here. It's not happening now, is it? Oh, I guess it is. Okay. So it is today through Thursday. So as I'm doing this, they're probably still recording in Orlando as we speak. SmackDown tapings March 27th, April 3rd. And they'll be doing content for future NXT episodes. And they'll do tapings for Raw episodes March 23rd and March 30th. And Wednesday and Thursday will be tapings for night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania 36. Date of those tapings are unknown. They don't know what's going to be taped anywhere else. So no matter what, we're going to see certain things that are not going to be noticed. So we're going to have to see what that is. So now, The widespread belief is that WWE will film 2 endings to its WrestleMania matches to prevent that from happening, where there will be no spoilers of it, which will be just the latest in a long line of unconventional booking methods for a pay-per-view that should either be anything but normal. Perhaps the weirdest match of all will be Undertaker versus AJ Styles in a Boneyard match. So this is a way for WWE to bring out all the bells and whistles. What's going to be a wacky WrestleMania? So Mike Johnson from PW Insider reported on some of the random and zany matches that are going to be added. He says, quote, I was told to expect more matches to WrestleMania, believe it or not. I was told to expect some random sort of zany matches announced. The other marquee match we also have to get special treatment, is John Cena versus Bray Wyatt. According to Cage Side Seats, a gorilla position, the champ between the champ and the Fiend is going to be vastly different from the typical match you'll see. They're saying this. It will get a full-blown movie treatment with a unique look and feel. It'll be shot in a warehouse. Which, again, the Wyatt-Randy Orton match was voted the worst match of the year in 2017. But if there's a year to think outside of the box, then WWE is going to do that. So many of their plans have been thrown into complete disarray after all. And they said that there was actually a report that some of the superstars were not willing to come to Orlando for TV tapings, while these 2 WrestleMania matches were changed because some stars were unable to make it. So we did hear, what was it, that Dana Brooke and Rey Mysterio are being quarantined right now because they might have not contracted anything, but they might have been exposed. And so they're, for precautionary reasons, they are quarantined. So now, moving along, Dave Meltzer says that they're currently in quarantine due to the pandemic. But again, that's what we're at. Dana Brooke was originally going to be in the 6-pack challenge for the SmackDown Women's title. Rey Mysterio was going to have a U.S. title match against Andrade, but those matches have been U.S. title match has been scrapped. And Dana Brooke will not be in the 6-pack challenge. It'll be a 5-pack challenge. So 2 new matches were added to WrestleMania. That was Andrade versus Bobby Lashley, Street Profits versus Andrade, and Angel Garza for the Raw Tag Team titles. So again, there's going to be a skeleton crew of backstage producers that'll be in to do all the tapings. And it'll be doing the same with its roster of all superstars. So, in essence, WWE has had to figure out who's available and who they can slot into WrestleMania card to give the fans some entertainment, to make the card happen. So, there's never going to be another one like it. So, there's a lot of things to talk about. And here's what he brings up here's the positive of it, okay? You got Edge returning from a 9-year hiatus to wrestle his first singles bout in a last man standing match. You got Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns expected to hopefully beat 2 part-timers in Brock Lesnar and Goldberg, respectively, and become champions on their respective brands. You got Becky Lynch's year-long Raw Women's title reign, which could end at the hands of Shayna Baszler, which we're not talking about much, but they should say something about it. Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. And then you have some other people that are not going to be on the show at all. No Battle Royals, no Pyrotechnics. So Vince is doing this move forward with a massive financial hit that the company will be taking by doing so. But again, they have to do it. There's no choice of this. Let's talk about the card itself and go into what the matches are going to be so far. What we have right now is Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair for the NXT Women's title. Again, for Charlotte to go and step down and cash in on an NXT Women's title, yeah, it makes it sound good, but still, it's like, I'm not sure what to think about that. Undertaker versus AJ Styles in a Boneyard match. So they're saying that Undertaker, when he came out like he did for the contract signing, looks like he's going to go more of the American Badass feel for this match. Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens. 5-pack challenge. Women's Championship elimination match on the SmackDown side. Bayley defends against Lacey Evans, Tamina, Naomi, and Sasha Banks. Street Profits, Andrade and Angel Garza for the Raw Tag Team titles. Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley. It's a straight-up match. Goldberg versus Roman Reigns for the Universal title. Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler for the Raw Women's title. John Cena versus The Fiend Bray Wyatt. Edge versus Randy Orton, last man standing. King Corbin versus Elias. And I guess they're going to do Raw and SmackDown sides. They'll split them up. I guess that's what they'll do. Okay. Whatever works. That's what they decided to do. That's fine. I got no problem with that. And that's what we got so far. No Crockett Cup. Looks like that's been canceled. Rebellion has been canceled, as far as I know. And that's where we are. I mean, people can go ahead and be as critical as they want about what's going on, but there's not much else that can be said. You know, it's unfortunate that they're in this spot that they're in, but there's not much that can be done here at this point. They're in a tough spot, and I wouldn't want to know what WWE would try to do to go ahead and try to fix this situation in the first place. They're in a tough spot. In a real tough spot. So with that said, that's what they're going to do. That's what we got. There's not much more that's being said now. The one thing that's really interesting is there's not much being talked about at all when it comes to anything going on with WrestleMania. Everything's real tight-lipped. So we're going to have an absolutely real change of things. Now, again, as I mentioned before, Raw and SmackDown had a little bit of a different look. I thought they did what they had to do, given the situation. There was nothing you could do much to do in order to make things better when it comes to anything, right? I mean, there's not that much that can be done. When you're looking at their situation, I mean, people are going to be it's an unpredictable show. I think there's some predictable matches, but the way it's going to be set up and how it's going to be presented, unpredictable. I think the fact it's going to be produced might be a good thing. I'm just not sure how they're going to pull it off. And I wonder how long the matches are going to be and what they're going to really pull off of this. I'm really curious how it's going to turn out. So NXT had a little bit of spark tonight. Killer Kross appeared through a vignette. So it looks like he's going to do something where he's going to infiltrate against Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, as that match is being set up for April 8th for NXT. So it's the Wednesday after WrestleMania. The former Stokely Hathaway, now Malcolm Bivens, appeared on NXT. He's now managing 2 stars, Rinku Singh and Saurav Gurjar. Io Shirai also was on TV, I guess it was, and now she's going after, I think, the women's title. Next week's NXT will be a triple threat match for the NXT North American title. It'll be Keith Lee, Donovan Dijakovic, and Damian Priest all going after each other, which are all matches that were meant to be for the NXT Women's Championship. So Io Shirai is competing. She'll be back to NXT coming up. And the story is, let me read this again. Their qualifying matches they had to crown a new number 1 contender for the NXT Women's title. So at the moment, Shirai defeated Aaliyah to qualify. And then the other qualifying match of the night, Candice LeRae won over Kaden Carter. So Shirai and LeRae will join Chelsea Green, Mia Yim, and Tegan Knox as participants in the ladder match. 1 spot remaining. And that'll be coming up soon. So there you go. They got that going on. Now as for Dynamite, great match with the Mega AAA title on the line that Kenny Omega defended and won and retained. I thought the Matt Hardy, Chris Jericho stuff was gold. So good. So Damascus. I mean, just the whole thing was set up. Those just 2 guys, you know, hey, everybody can go and knock what they want to say about AEW because a lot of former WWE stars are in right now and major storylines. So you're looking at Inner Circle and the Elite. You have Matt Hardy and Chris Jericho in one feud. And now Jon Moxley is going to go after Jake Hager with the AEW World title in a feud going on right now. So yes, former stars in there, but the bottom line is they're just doing a better job with those stars. Jon Moxley looks as good as a character has been. Chris Jericho continues to evolve and continues to change himself. He is a chameleon. And Matt Hardy being able to go and restore and resurrect the broken brilliance and to even bring back the obsolete portion of the gimmick that Jeff Hardy was doing as Brother Nero. Excellent. I mean, it was all great. I enjoyed it. I actually even enjoyed a little bit of Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega on commentary. I really love Tony Schiavone doing the play-by-play tonight. It felt like an old Nitro. And he was getting right into it again. I was like, oh, this is so good. I miss Schiavone on commentary. I know some people didn't like it so much on WCW Monday Nitro, but I did. I liked him on commentary. I really did. I like this stuff. Lance Archer will debut in ring on Dynamite next week. Nice. So there's some things they're going to look at. Oh, Brody Lee and the Dark Order, what the Exalted One, him, bitching over Morton steaks. And I'll tell you, man, it made me, I had dinner already beforehand, but those Morton steaks look good. Good stuff. But you know what? I'm sorry. Good steak is good steak, but man, I would not pay $60, $70 for a Morton steak. If that's what it is. Or even like $100. I can't do it. I could not see myself doing it at all. No. Not at all. All right. A few other things to bring up. And then I'll get into Dark Side of the Ring. So Access is going to be doing some details. They're going to be airing a TNA special next week. So the deal is this. And the one night only special, which is going to be the TNA, what was the original TNA thing that was going to happen at WrestleMania? They're going to put that into a tape show next week on Access TV. So the idea will be an hour-long, one-night-only special featuring new matches, special appearances. It premieres Tuesday night at 10 o'clock Eastern, immediately after the regular Impact show. And what will happen is it'll be a match. One of the matches that will be featured headlining the night will be former TNA World Heavyweight Champion going up against Madman Fulton, the monster of OVE. There'll be promo time for Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner, who will return, live mic in hand. And then the LAX, member Hernandez will face the natural Chase Stevens and a rare singles match featuring two multiple-time TNA Tag Team Champions. And then also Kid Cash and Johnny Swinger are supposed to tag together, taking on Suicide and Manic, who will join forces for the first time in a classic TNA Tag Team match. Sounds good. David Penzer will call the in-ring action, so that'll be great to hear him after all those years in WCW and TNA. And calling the in-ring action will be Scott D'Amore of Team Canada. So there you go. So this is replacing the postponed TNA There's No Place Like Home pay-per-view, which they decided to put on Access TV. Was a nice little touch. That's good. At least you're doing something with that. I can't knock them for that. There you go, man. That's where we're at. That's where we are with things. And it's still unfortunate that we have had what happened when it comes to wrestling, man. But again, you got to feel good about it. Now, let me get to another story I wanted to bring up before I stepped away. So this is what I need to explain why people should be so fortunate to have what we have when it comes to wrestling, because other sports fans have nothing to work off of. Let me say that again. There's nothing for the sports fans to watch. So I want to bring up a story that came up about this that really will put everything into context. Deadline.com talks about, and this is what I'm talking about, the fact that ESPN decided to go ahead and work a deal with WWE to go for the next 3 Sundays and air WrestleManias complete. That's a big deal. So anyway, so the story is from Jill Goldsmith and Deadline.com. Sports networks scramble in a sports-scarce world. Bowling or poker, anyone? Here's what she says. Sports networks grappling with widespread cancellations and postponements of not just games but entire seasons used this past week to frenetically prep schedules, leaning on heavily on new or expanded studio talk shows, rebroadcasts of earlier matchups, and library content, if they're lucky enough to have it. Networks and leagues are deep in discussions about rights to air older games and developing new programming for this coronavirus moment, but just how they're filling airtime is extremely fluid. So the Tennis Channel, if you're a tennis buff, they announced a live studio show daily from 12 to 3, repeats at 8 and 11 p.m. Eastern. and they rebroadcast the 2019 matches and tournaments in the slots where the 2020 events would be. So that's one channel. The Golf Channel is relying on re-air encore telecast of previous year's tournaments, its archive of original programming and golf instruction, plus more episodes of in-studio interview show Faraday. So you got that to work for you. Then at Fox, it's a fluid situation with multiple updates each day. They just brought back 2 live shows on Fox Sports 1, The Herd and Undisputed. They aired the 2015 and 2019 FIFA Women's World Cup Finals with a live Q&A from superstar Carly Lloyd. Then they have other live sports without fans or spectators, which included SmackDown, to professional bowling, NASCAR iRacing, and horse racing. So, NASCAR iRacing announced for Thursday, horse racing announcing for Friday. Fox Sports can also go through evergreen programming from Major League Baseball, NASCAR, Premier Boxing Championship, college basketball, college football, and the XFL, along with documentaries and docuseries like Magnify. ESPN is one that's trying to get to the mad scramble. So they're tapping into a mix of Sports Center, talk shows, documentaries, and potentially previously scheduled original programming. So the Executive Vice President of Programming Acquisitions and Scheduling, Burke Magnus, says, Thursday, March 12th is a day none of us will soon forget. Coming off the NBA's decision to play the night before, so many leagues and properties had to make challenging decisions about their seasons or events. As those decisions were made, the downstream effects began to unravel the ESPN programming schedule across our networks, and we had to adjust accordingly. We have 2 simultaneous goals. One in the media future is in terms of how we can be as relevant as possible through news and live studio programming in order to frame for sports fans the impact that these unprecedented circumstances are having on the sports world. Since this week coincidentally is the beginning of the NFL league calendar and free agency, we built our schedules with an eye towards that being as a major topic of conversation. Another goal is aimed at entertaining fans through fun, compelling archival content and or themed stunt event programming that will provide a diversion at a time where there's no other live sports to watch. So stunt event programming could be axe throwing or log, I forget what there is. There's a number of different things they can do. They could do cornholing. It's really just novelty shit. We need to replicate that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week across multiple networks. And remember, they got bunches of networks to fill. That's what's in front of us in terms of long-range programming. And that Magnus also noted that full game presentations is not a right that we or other media companies typically have at our disposal at all times. Each one of these circumstances requires individual conversations with a specific league or property to determine what's possible. So again, they had to go to WWE to get programming to fill airtime and fill big bulks of airtime. So they filled Sunday nights with that. And there you go. And so everybody's trying to figure out what they're going to do. And there's all these different networks, and all they're doing is trying to keep themselves together. So for the sports media people, one executive says every network has a different library and a different set of resources. They're hoping the general public will stick it out as long as the content is good and relevant. That is what WWE is doing right now for Fox and USA and their network. They're keeping content. We can question if it's good, but it's definitely relevant. And that's what they have to do. They have no other choice. So I can't knock them for that. Okay. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to go ahead now, send us over to some comments I taped yesterday where I talked about Dark Side of the Ring. The two-part episode, which featured the life and times of Chris and Nancy Benoit in professional wrestling and the whole tragedy that came from it. So here are my comments that I gave yesterday, and I close it out from there. So enjoy. So I just finished watching Dark Side of the Ring Part 2, and gotta admit, all I could think about the whole time during this was of David Benoit I mean, talking about somebody that was just in the crosshairs that should have never been part of this. It's very unfortunate to see that young kid really get stuck in all this. And I mean, for him to still have his head wrapped around pretty good for what it looks like is amazing, because I don't even know how he's able to do it and how he's able to go ahead and hold himself up after all that happened to him. Like, that's a situation I would never wish on even a worst enemy. But for Chris Benoit, I can still remember when the coverage started coming out, and one of the shows I was listening to, and I was working at Clear Channel at the time, and I was really big in the wrestling, but I was always thinking about, should I get myself into podcasting about wrestling? And I was thinking that might be a show I'd do, but it would be another 5 years down the line before I did. And one of the shows I was listening to at the time was Don Tony Kevin Castle, when it was the Minority Report. And I remember hearing it after they talked about it, after the Monday night show, and everybody just feeling upset, and all of us just feeling shocked and saddened before we knew everything else was going on. Because remember, even though Jim Ross says it was upon them as the people in the wrestling business to go out there prematurely without knowing all the facts, then there's another story when you look at what happened and knowing all the story and all the facts, having to come back in such a weird situation. But the thing was, it's always in certain crises that WWE always does things where they must keep the show going on. It's the P.T. Barnum kind of feeling. I feel like Vince McMahon always has to be inclined to do that. Did not want to just shut down the show. We got 3 hours to fill. It's on USA Network. We have to do a show. And I believe by then they were already on USA Network. They had already left Spike. So at that point, they needed to go ahead and continue with the show. There was no other way they can go around it. And people know the story. Obviously, the internet was still, didn't take much time for news to get around, especially around the wrestling rags, especially at that time as well. Now, of course, we didn't have social media, but we could see all the message boards. We could see everything that was going on, and news went quick. And 2007, we were just getting into the crosshairs of Twitter and Facebook. And really, people weren't using it just like it is now. Nothing like it is now. But the kind of interaction that I saw, what a well-told story. They brought the right wrestlers on to go and talk about it. Hearing from Vicky, hearing from Nancy's sister, hearing from Chavo, hearing from Chris Jericho. Man. A lot of things that they made mention of were absolutely right. Chris Benoit can never be inducted into the Hall of Fame. He could never be recognized for anything. But one thing that's got to be said, what Chris Nowinski was talking about, I think everybody wants to go ahead and try to use it was just a complete self-destruction of him. And that CTE wasn't the overlying factor. But I have to believe that from everything I've seen about CTE, when it comes to the concussions, I really think that's probably was there are such things where it's anger and rage and alcohol all mixed into a real bad cocktail, yes. But I also think there's something to be said about, and here's the thing too, in the cases where we've heard about other players that had retired from the NFL that dealt with CTE, those were people that had retired. Meanwhile, Chris Benoit was still an active wrestler, very much active in his career. And to see all that happened, it's just still, it does bring back a lot. And I still remember hearing all the guys in that round table for Minority Report talking about this, and just saying to myself, man, it was what a weird time, because I'll tell you, that loomed around for a while. And the ramifications for it were really hard on everybody, because wrestling just went through a tough time. When you look at all that was happening, yeah, it was tough for everybody. And there wasn't much you could do about it. But it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate about all that happened here as a result. And the fact that, man, I don't know what you think about that after the fact, but I'll tell you, it's depressing altogether. And I'll tell you, I always wonder now with WWE, and I don't want to bring this up on the Wrestling Observer podcast, because this is one of those things where I just didn't want to put that in part, because there's too much to talk about with WrestleMania and the things going on with that to go ahead and insert it here. Maybe I'll just add it and attach it. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not sure. But for myself, I'm just thinking about the fact that with Chris Benoit, I mean, you look at the era of wrestlers you had at that time and what was going on. And I'm saying to myself, man, with all that happened, it's so unfortunate that at that time, look at what WWE had to do in order to desensitize. Remember, the audience is desensitized now. And all that they had to go through and watch to keep people glued in. Look at the severity of the chair shots and the table spots and all of that. And people don't even get really caught up into it as much as they did anymore because of the severity that was really going on back then, which in some cases, that's where the Attitude Era really was its best because they really did. Sure, the sex was there, but the extreme violence. Talk about real damage being done to people. That's what was there. And that's what you have to think about is that there was such a point going so far and seeing the way wrestling is now with all the acrobatics and the real athleticism and the real sportsmanship, the real professional, the acrobatics that you have to have. That's the style of wrestling we've accustomed to now because that is in response to what was going on before the extreme side of wrestling, which I'll admit was shocking and exciting at the same time. But as a wrestling fan, I never wanted to this. I wouldn't have wanted to have seen wrestlers like Chris Benoit or Eddie Guerrero or others go through such a severity only to get injured and destroyed like that. It was a different time. You know, when you're thinking about 20 years ago, you think about 15 years ago, it was a different time. And nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew that we were going to get to a point that, man, this is too much. We shouldn't get to this point. It's not good for anybody. But we did, and here we are. And it sucks. And it's a shame to see all that has happened. But what are you going to do? And so I think about what David Benoit is going through. I think about how CTE really is a much more important factor, and there should be more treatment to it. And obviously, we're seeing it with the NFL getting that. I don't know how much of that was being done with professional wrestlers. I don't know. But it's just unfortunate that kind of tragedy happened. And I'll say Chris Jericho was right when he says that Nancy, just put her in her real name, Nancy Tuffoloni, a.k.a. Woman, and let her be inducted into the Hall of Fame. You know, posthumously. That would be a nice little tribute. Because she does deserve it for all that she ever did. I do agree with that. Woman was a great character, and she was important for a lot of different wrestlers. She accompanied a lot of great wrestlers at the time and was very important. So I think should be something to be said because this is a lost art. But other than that, you know, I know people are going to have their own opinions about this whole story and how people might have gotten shut. You know, remember if Jericho was being a little more extreme than, you know, a little more brutal than people have expected, but I don't see why it wouldn't be. I don't see why you don't. Honestly, just so much happening there. It was such an unfortunate situation, and it's saddening to see. And that's all I got to say about it. I just think that it bears without retelling. The story told itself well. And that, you know, when I see David and Sandra, Nancy's sister, hugging together, and David trying to keep it together because it's such a tough time, but chronicling the story of his father and his mother and his younger son and his younger brother. Yeah, that's got to be something to be said where, yeah, that's important. And by the way, he does have family outside of that. I mean, for the fact of the matter is that Nancy was a stepmother, but man, you saw there was a bond. And with Daniel, there was such a bond right there. That was real close-knit family. And for all the time that you saw Chris Benoit not looking like he would have been where he probably was abusive at times, and it probably was hot and cold times with him. And it was too bad. I think the roid rage probably contributed to him being a domestic abuser. That I believe. And I think eventually somebody should have figured it out, and that whole thing should have split. That's true. So I think that's one thing, but then also his work in the ring, the CTE was what took him over the top. I think the CTE was the ultimate factor of the homicide-suicide. Because I don't know, if not for the concussions he suffered, if that wasn't the overlying factor along with the alcohol and the drugs, that would have really made the biggest difference. Like, I don't know that if somebody, would have that mindset to completely go like he did, because, every other time before that, he was being apologetic. But the whole point was Nancy should have never accepted it. She should have gotten out of that relationship. And it's unfortunate the support system she had didn't see the warning signs. I couldn't help her rescue from that for the sake of the sons and for her sake. It's just a sacrifice away, but it never got the chance to happen. And that's unfortunate. So I look at that and I just say to myself, man, what a heartening tale. Dark Side of the Ring just does a good job with these stories. The Von Erichs, Gino Hernandez from last year, the Montreal Screwjob. What good stories they're telling. But this right here, Chris Benoit, to start off this new season with this was, boy, that was rough. It's unfortunate. It's sad. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. First chance doing a live chat here on YouTube. See when he wants to watch this after the fact. I know that probably nobody watched this live, but that's okay. But you're catching on the download after, or you're going to watch it. I'll make this available on the. I'm going to probably go and attach this to the Wrestling's World podcast for tomorrow. This is an extra part at the end because I want to make sure it's available in audio for everybody out there. So we'll do that. So make sure to go check me out, WrestlingIsReal.com. And obviously, if you want to go ahead and keep it on the things, just remember that we're always, doing the show every Thursday, available at kingofpodcast.com or WrestlingIsReal.com. Just look for the show. Subscribe wherever you need to go and subscribe to it. And, of course, I have my other shows when I'm not podcasting and the Broadcasters Podcast. Everything you need to find out at kingofpodcasts.com. And also, most important, help me out at this time of need when times are tough. The revenue pipelines are a little bit going dry. I have another one I need to try to get turned back on. I need the faucet turned on, and that is the Amazon page I have at kingofamazon.com, kingofamazon.com. I hope you will consider buying from Amazon using my special link, kingofamazon.com, so you can help out the show and you can help us make a little bit of scratch back to help supplement, and hopefully I can also donate and share back what I've gotten from all of you. Thanks to all of you. I appreciate it. We'll leave it there. And don't forget, have a regular Wrestling Is Real podcast coming up. Wednesday going to Thursday because wrestling needs us.
Thank you for listening to the Wrestling Is Real podcast, brought to you by kingofamazon.com. For more information on how to subscribe to the show, how to share the Wrestling Is Real podcast to listeners like you, and check out the latest wrestling headlines, go to wrestlingisreal.com. That's wrestlingisreal.com.